After 5 days of wandering around Wellington, we organised the ferry from Wellington to Picton. It was a 4-hour journey which went over very quickly. After really enjoying our 2.5 weeks on the North Island, we were really excited about travelling around the South Island. Remember, travelling is the only way to live. This slide is a few things you need to know. A few other things you need to know is that there is only 5.3 million people live in New Zealand. The majority of those people live on the North Island, which unfortunately is the smaller of the two. And actually 78% of New Zealand is uninhabited because of the terrains. I like to add a few fun facts whenever I'm making one of these presentations, and there's quite a good few for New Zealand. My first one is that New Zealand were the first country to give women the vote back in 1893. Number two, and this is important to me, there's no snakes in New Zealand, and they don't even allow snakes into the country. And the most important one is that New Zealand is home to Middle Earth. And Middle Earth is famous for two of my most favourite movies, Avatar and of course number one, The Hobbit. This slide shows you our plans for the next 33 days, but from our past experiences, there's chances it'll change as we move along. Our first port of call on the Southern Island was Wakari Beach. We wanted to go there to see the archways, but just as importantly, the seals and the seal pups. We waited until we knew it was low tide and we arrived just in time. We waited on the beach until the waves started to come through the archways. Then, beyond our wildest dreams, a dolphin appeared. Just along the beach from the archways, we saw this seal. He then decided to put on a good display for us. Picton is excellent. We spent 3 days there and we could have spent twice as many. We got the opportunity to go hiking, go out on a small cruise and saw some dolphins, Marlborough Sounds, just unbelievable. We arrived in Westport, we knew absolutely nothing about it. What we discovered, it is the first European settlement and it was built in 1861. Originally it was a gold town and then over time it turned to a coal town, which reminded me of my home in Sunderland, which was also a coal town. The first thing we did in Westport was we went for a nice long hike. The trails were excellent. But because of my heritage, the following day I insisted on going to the underground coal mine. But I'll be honest, we got out of bed a bit late and we took a long breakfast. So we stopped at a place called Runganga. And if you look at the photo in Runganga, you can see the hotel we stayed at the very front. The people at the hotel were nice and friendly, but other than that, there's nothing much to see in Runganga. We moved away from the ocean and headed towards Arrowtown. And the reason for the Arrowtown visit was I'd read it has an abundance of hiking trails. I've learned over the years you can't always believe what you read in the tourist information regarding your next visit. But I have to say, Arrowtown was beyond anything that anybody had written. It was fabulous and the trails were first class. Another quick overnight stop at a place called Bruce Bay. Our goal now was to get to Queenstown, where we had booked a 5-day trip to Milford Sound. Queenstown was our next location. We booked the coach and we were ready to go. The bus driver on the coach apologised because it was raining very heavily. When I finally checked it out, it rains about 220 days a year and gets 22 feet of rain. And if you want to see waterfalls, we were quite happy that it was raining. The coach we boarded was luxurious, and it was about a 4-hour drive to Milford Sound with stopping for lunch. The first thing we did when we got to Milford Sound, we booked 2 boat tours. I never thought being soaked in cold water would be an enjoyment. I wanted to find out how many waterfalls there was in Milford Sound, and I found out there were 2 permanent waterfalls, Bowen Falls and Stirling Falls. However, there are hundreds of temporary waterfalls that appear during or after heavy rainfalls, which, believe me, happens quite often. I was fortunate to get photographs of these colourful birds I'd never ever seen before. We'd already been to the very northern part of New Zealand, so we thought we'd go as far south as possible, and Bluff was the answer to that question. Bluff is famous because it's the end of the major highway, and also it's famous for bluff oysters. 2 wins. We arrived in Dunedin and we found out 2 things on the very first date. First and foremost, Baldwin Street. It's in the Guinness World Records as the steepest street in the world. And yes, we walked all the way from the bottom, all the way to the top. And then the other thing we found out is if you want to walk along the pier, it's impossible. It's nice and flat, it's not like Baldwin Street, but the birds won't move. We discovered Dunedin was an excellent place. The mountains in the distance, the town centre was excellent, and walk along the beach we actually saw some penguins. A couple of slides ago you will have seen some photographs I took of birds, and then, as I said, the best was yet to come. The birds I was about to find out about were albatrosses. We were told exactly where to go to get the best viewing of the albatrosses, so quite excitedly we took a taxi to that location. We arrived with a fully charged camera and the weather was perfect. I hope you enjoy the videos and the photographs as much as I enjoyed taking them. The location of the place to see the albatrosses in this area is the Ortega Peninsula. It is home to the world's only mainland breeding colony for the northern royal albatross. And if you could take a boat tour out there, there's a good possibility you could see the massive wandering albatross just off the shore. The wandering albatross is the largest living bird in the world. Its wingspan can reach up to nearly 12 feet, and its weight is anywhere between 25 to 28 pounds. I'm fortunate as I've had some incredible days in my life, but this one was just unbelievable. After all the excitement in Dunedin, we needed a quiet location, and Timaru served that purpose well. The racehorse that you see on this photograph is probably one of the most famous racehorses that ever lived. He was born in New Zealand, and out of 51 races, he won 37 of them across the world. His final race was Tijuana, Mexico, and he unfortunately died in California under suspicious circumstances. He would have been 100 years old in 2026. The 2 photographs on the left hand side, on the top, that's the Botanical Gardens, which was nice just to wander around. Beneath that is Maori Rock Art. They also have a rock art museum, well worth a visit. Christchurch is New Zealand's biggest city on the southern island. About a decade ago, it suffered a lot of earthquakes, and over the last 10 years, it's been rebuilt with some very, very impressive buildings. It's also known for its green spaces, and it's called the Garden City. And this is what Christchurch looks like in the winter time, with those beautiful southern Alps in the background and lots of snow on the ground. After Timaru, our final location in New Zealand was Christchurch. We came across this very, very impressive building. We discovered we were looking at Christchurch Art Gallery, and I have to say it was just as impressive on the inside as it is on the outside. The Fudge Cottage is a must for afternoon tea. As we wandered the streets, it was lunchtime, and we came to a shop selling a donut that was stuffed with braised beef. I couldn't resist. Robert Scott was 13 years old when he joined the Navy as a cadet, and by the time he had reached 30, he was Captain Scott, and he volunteered to take the first Antarctic command on the HMS Discovery, leading to Britain's first major scientific expedition to Antarctica. The HMS Discovery was the first vessel designed specifically for Antarctic research. She was dual-purpose. She featured sail and a steam engine, allowing her to navigate both in open waters and thick ice. She was built to withstand being trapped in the ice, and she was considered the strongest wooden ship that was ever built at that time. Scott, driven by a desire to be the first to reach the South Pole for the British Empire, achieved his goal on January the 17th, 1912, only to discover that Edmundson had arrived 1 month earlier. Unfortunately for Scott and his 4 colleagues, on the 850-mile return journey, they all met a tragic end. A hero's end. Captain Scott writes, "He was a brave soul. He silent through the night, hoping not to wake, but woke in the morning, and it was blowing a blizzard. Old said, 'I'm just going outside, and I may be some time.' He went out into the blizzard, and we have not seen him since." Captain Oates realized that he could not march no more, and that his comrades would not willingly leave him. By going out to meet his death, he left them free to push on and take the chance of life that remained to them. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. The last message of Robert Scott. We arrived within 11 miles of our old one-ton camp, with fuel for 1 hot meal and food for 2 days. For 4 days we have been unable to leave the tent. The gale is howling about us. We are weak. Writing is difficult, but for my own sake, I do not regret this journey, which has shown that Englishmen can endure hardship, help one another, and meet death with as great a fortitude as ever in the past. We took risks. We knew we took them. Things have gone against us, and therefore we have no cause for complaint. But bow out to the will of Providence, determined still to do our best to the last. Had we lived I should have had a tale to tell of the hardship, endurance and courage of my companions, which would have stirred the hearts of every Englishman. These rough notes and our dead bodies must tell the tale. R. Scott, 25th of March, 1912. I thought I would end Captain Scott's history with what the South Pole looks like today. We decided to spend our last 2 days in Christchurch splashing around in the water. I thought I'd use my AI skills to make sure that Lorena didn't get wet. Lorena and I on the train from Christchurch back to Auckland to catch our flight. We've spent the last 60 days travelling through the North and the South Island, and we now have New Zealand as our number one place to return. The end. We really hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as we have enjoyed the last 14 years of travelling the world. Travelling, the only way to live.